Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified Doctor of Naturopathy, Dr. Stephen Cabral, shares with you exactly how you can reverse aging, take back your health, and live a life full of energy and passion, with new 20-minute episodes every single day to keep you healthy and engaged. Now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. So good to be here with you today. Excited to get into a Friday review. I love the Friday reviews because it's a little bit more relaxed. We go through all the different happenings of the week. I get to bring you 2 new research studies. This week, artificial intelligence combined with looking at Alzheimer's from a completely different lens that, believe it or not, your optometrist can actually do. And I'll also be talking about specifically how lipids and cholesterol may actually affect Alzheimer's as well. We'll go through a product review. It's not going to be the right fit for everyone, but it may be a fit for some people, and it looks amazing in your kitchen or office. We'll go through a podcast recap, what's going on over at EcoLife, as well as a free vitamin D3 lab giveaway. So definitely don't miss that. And of course, starting with my recap right now on how my water fast has been going. So my goal for you is to always share with you my health journey as well. And I think many of you know, especially by now, that I had a pretty rough health stint and journey until the age of about 27 years old. I got extremely sick at 17, but even before 17 years old, I had allergies, I had acid reflux, I had ear, nose, and throat problems. I was, sick 6, 7, 8 times a year, which we just kind of thought was normal. I took antibiotics all the time. I had acne. I had all sorts of, issues, skin issues. And so what I realized as I started to move through my health journey, which is basically from 19 years old, I discovered natural health, integrative health, is that there isn't essentially one fit for everyone. And what we need to do is, and how we practice inside of EcoLife, is we meet the individual with where they're at. And so earlier this week, I did a podcast on kind of finding the right detox for you. And the strongest one is obviously a water fast, but it's not the right fit for everyone. It's really not. It's not the right fit for 99 out of 100 people or more. So you want to actually work through the 5 different types of detoxes that I spoke about on Tuesday's show, and we'll link that up for you. That's episode 2825. But at some point, you may decide that a water fast is right for you. And it doesn't mean that it needs to be a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, whatever it might be, but just know that it's at your disposal. And if you're ever dealing and struggling with a severe wellness-based issue, now luckily I'm not right now. I'm doing this because autoimmune issues run in my family. I had autoimmune issues at 17 years old, right? I had rheumatoid arthritis. Cancer runs in my family. I obviously have genetics that are very prone to inflammation. So I'm doing this now. It's been, believe it or not, 10 years. I've waited a long time since I've done my second water fast, but I hope to make this an annual based fast. Now I do my quarterly fast. There's no doubt about that. So I still do my functional medicine detoxes, but I very well may decide every 12 months to 18 months, which I plan to do, a water fast. And it's basically a complete resetting of the body. You're causing a faster die-off of white blood cells, of better reproduction of stem cells. You're eliminating a lot of the necrotic tissue in your body through deeper levels of autophagy. And I have a show on deeper levels of autophagy. I can link that up as well, kind of what happens over a 72-hour fast as well that we do during the functional medicine detox. Why don't I link that up? Everything, instead of me saying, why don't I link that up? Everything will be linked up today at stephencabral.com/2828. So you can head on over there. All the resources, all the research, everything will be linked up here today. But one of the other things that I want to do is I want to start to develop deeper programs for people that need deeper levels of healing. And so I would be remiss if I were to give advice and not take it myself. And so I'm going through this as well. I've done it before. I've done 7-day water fast before, but I'm doing it in a way that I can start to document. So I'm letting people know I'm able to look at my biometrics in terms of my sleep, in terms of my heart rate, in terms of my glucometer. So basically continuous glucose monitor to look at my blood sugar to make sure it's not dropping to dangerously low levels, and I can look at my blood pressure. Now, some people are going to want to be a little bit more cautious, and they're going to want to do this under medical-based supervision. I'll be writing about that and talking about that in the future, but there's many clinics around the world that will have you stay at the clinic to do a water fast, and they will monitor your progress every day. Now, since this is my background and I have knowledge in this, I'm able to look at my blood sugar levels to make sure that as they drop, they come back up normally and I'm not getting too low. My blood pressure, that it doesn't drop too low below 90 over like 65 or so. I'm looking at my heart rate to make sure it doesn't start to spike and maintain in like the 80s and 90s, which would show a very great stress on my body. And then I'm obviously looking at my sleep too. I'm not as concerned about some disrupted sleep if my body's under a little bit of stress, but I want to take all of this into account. So I share this with you that it's not an easy thing to do. It's absolutely not your first place to start. There's 4 places before that to start. That's on, like I said, episode 28, 25. But it's available to you, and it's the deepest level of healing. And the reason it is that your body knows how to heal. It really does. You need to sometimes step aside and not begin to continue put in more toxicities, but allow it to do what it knows how to do. And it's my job simply to be the one to practice what I preach and then hopefully share from a deeper level and also have that insight from my own private wellness clients and all of you out there if you have questions. So that's why I'm doing it. That's why I'm working the process. And it's a struggle when you're hungry. There's no doubt about it. And I'm hungry a lot of time during the day. But I understand also my why. I've been to all sorts of parts of the world where people never had food and they were literally starving. So yes, I'm not eating food for a week, but I know when I was in India and certain parts of Sri Lanka, I saw people that were truly deprived of food and starving. I know I can have food at any point. So this is as much mental as it is physical. I still sit down with my family and have dinner, and it's challenging. There's no doubt about that. But this is the beginning of the water fast. I'm only a few days in. I will give a full recount in about 3 weeks to 4 weeks or so. Once everything is settled out, I'll talk about the amount of weight that I lost, muscle that I lost, and how I plan to put that back on. All right. So I just wanted to share that with you because I know a lot of people know that I'm going through it. I'm going to take some time to digest, to go through all my documentation, and then I'll do a full podcast for you on that. All right, so thank you. Appreciate you tuning in for the journey, and I'm sharing all of that on Instagram as well. All right, so what's going on over at EqualLife this week is the daily detox support. Not a lot of people know about this. One of the best products that you can use for baseline support on a daily basis. It's going to help you ramp up phase 2 detoxification and basically move a lot of these fat-soluble toxins out of the body faster. So as things break down from fat-soluble to water-soluble, you have phase 2, which is going to finish the process of getting that out through the urine, through the stool, through the sweat, etc. And that's done through what are called sulfur-based amino acids and phase 2 nutrients for the liver. All this does is it gives you more of that raw material back so that your body can do what it already knows how to do. And we're actually combining that with what's called the universal binder. And the universal binder is what binds up the toxins as they make their way out of the liver, into the bile, into your intestines, so they don't get reabsorbed back in the bloodstream. And that's called the universal binder. So I believe my team put together an amazing 25% savings, and that's just going on this week while supplies last. You can find that at StephenCabral.com/shop. That'll take you right over to EqualLife. I also want you to go over to StephenCabral.com/2828 to take advantage of the free vitamin D3 lab this week. It's so important as we're moving into the winter months that you know your vitamin D3 levels. Because when you go to your doctor and the blood lab test is from 30 to 80 or 30 to 100, that is not optimal. Optimal is 50 to 80. And so that's the sweet spot that we want you to be in. And we want you to not have to just grovel with your medical doctor to get your 25 hydroxy vitamin D3 test added to that. We want to share that and supply you with it. So we're giving it away completely free. This week, we're going to give away 100 labs. So please do check that out at StephenCabral.com/2828, and we'll be able to share the link right there. All right, podcast recap for the week. So Monday's show was one of my favorites. I mean, I really do I love talking on mindset because there's no way I would make it through a 7+ day water fast without having the mindset of saying, you're going to be hungry. You're going to want to eat. Food's going to smell extra delicious. But why are you doing this, right? How do you plan to keep your health for the next 100 years, right? Like, how does that work? Well, by looking at what are your current habits. And that's what Monday's show is all about. I don't need to focus on the future. What I need to focus on is what I'm doing today. All right. So check that out. All the podcasts are at stephencabral.com/podcasts. And that was episode 2824. 2825, I mentioned a few times now, how to choose the right detox for you. There are 5 different levels. I take you through those levels. And they're very straightforward to complete. And basically, every detox that you do is essentially free. It's not going to cost more than the food you're currently eating. I just want you to know that. So there's literally nothing to really buy. There's really not. Okay. Wednesday's show is the 5 ways sleep affects your weight. So definitely check out that show. That was, I think, pretty eye-opening because you'll start to learn that it's much more than just calories in, calories out for weight loss. And then yesterday's show is the top 4 supplements proven to protect your heart as you age. Fascinating study on looking at 27 different nutritional supplements and which ones that are the most beneficial for your heart, which, by the way, is the number one reason why people die at an early age, meaning in their 70s, when they should live to at least 100 years healthily. All right, so that is our podcast recap for the week. Our product review for the week, I'm going to pop up right above my shoulder. Hopefully our amazing videographer can put it right in there. It is called the Niagara Water Dispenser by Sertoto. And it's funny, I started to look up this company, and they're the ones, apparently, who made the copper mug, at least in the US. I know the copper mug's been around in Russia and many other places around the world for a long time. But popular because it was reviewed by Oprah in the early 2000s, or in 1997, I think the company was formed for pure copper. So theirs are all handmade, pure copper, hammered copper, and this one is called a water dispenser, Niagara Water Dispenser by Sertoto. I'll link it up in the show notes today. If I can get a discount for the company, I will. I purchased mine. I didn't, they didn't send it to me. So if I can get it, I'll get it for you. So pros to a water copper dispenser. One is they look beautiful. So if you're trying to set up that, natural health, Zen-based vibe in your kitchen, fantastic. I'm using the AquaTrue water filter. I've talked about that before. We can get you a discount, of course, on that as well. But that's what I use now. So I've switched over from the Berkey. I still love the Berkey. Don't get me wrong. I love the Berkey, and I use it especially for emergency situations, meaning that if you don't have power, your water's not going to be clean. That's the truth. If you're using reverse osmosis and you go back to tap, you need something to filter. Or if your whole city and your municipal loses power, well, then the water treatment plant may not have power either, right? So you always want filtered water. We're going to put it that way. So I keep the Berkey for emergency use, and I use the AquaTrue because I know I can get even cleaner water. And the AquaTrue holds a gallon or so, and I just pour that now into this Niagara water dispenser. Why copper? Copper has been used since Ayurvedic times, Ayurvedic medicine, 6,000 plus years ago. And one of the biggest reasons they used it is because it is antimicrobial and antibacterial. It will literally kill microbes and bacteria in the water by keeping it in a copper container. Now, it does need to be kept in there for at least 12 to 16 hours. Now, so that's a huge plus, right? And you'll also get more copper into your diet. The average person can handle 10 milligrams per day. In the daily nutritional support, you're getting 1 milligram. In the balanced zinc, you're getting an additional milligram. We typically not recommend supplementing with more than 2 to 3 milligrams per day. Upper limit is typically 10 milligrams per day. However, you're getting it through dark chocolate and shellfish and potatoes and other things like that. So the only worry with a copper container, because I always want to be unbiased and honest with you, is that if you use copper, you want to make sure you run your zinc and copper levels. That's it. And there's a lot of people with lower levels of copper. They really are, about 8 out of 10 people. However, 10 to 20% of people have elevated copper to zinc. And for those people, this is not the right water dispenser for them. They would just use glass or stainless steel or whatever they'd like. So I just want you to know that. So I test my mineral levels just with a minerals and metals test, which is a hair tissue sample. And I test my daughter's samples every 6 months. That's it. So if you test your samples every 6 months, you'll always know what your zinc to copper are. Most people need a little bit of extra zinc and copper. They do. That's why we use a balanced zinc, and it's part of our immunity protocol. All two daughters need that. My wife and I both typically run a little higher zinc to copper. And that's because we eat foods that are higher in zinc than copper for the most part, and supplements contain usually more zinc, which they should, than copper, about 15-to-1 ratio. Okay, so I'm kind of going on and on about this, but the thing is, you can also get a minerals and metals test free, so we want you to know that. Over at Equilife, once you hit a certain subscription threshold, you get a free minerals and metals test. It's like a $199 value, so it's pretty fantastic. So my job as a founder and also practitioner is to get you as many things to make your life and health as easy as possible, as inexpensively as I can. We can't give away everything, of course, but what I want you to do is at least have open access to information, and that's why I try to do these free labs. You just pay shipping, that's it. And then with the minerals and metals test, you don't even pay shipping. It's just part of your subscription. So it's a thank you, it's an appreciation, but it's also trying to get you this information. All right. All of that will be linked up. I can't link up, unfortunately, nutritional supplements. It's just not legal to do that with the FDA. So you can check out the water dispenser and the minerals and metals test. And I can even do a 50% off if you don't even want to do anything with Equilife at stevencabral.com/2828. All right. So hopefully that's helpful. We're going to put a photo up. I'll put a photo on Instagram, of course. It's a beautiful water dispenser. It really is. So the only downside would be if you have higher levels of copper, then it's not the right fit for you. Okay. Next up, I want to share with you something I actually just caught. I don't do a lot of, I do curated news, which simply means that I go and I look for the latest research and all of those things. I don't like to read the news too much. And I know that everybody has their opinions on that, and people think that I'm missing out on world events and all that. I get it. I understand. Like if it's a big enough event, I'm going to hear about it. I'm going to see it on my feed. So yes, but I was actually looking through what popped up on my feed for Apple News. And it's not something that I typically do, but it was interesting because it showed a study in Alzheimer's. And if something like Alzheimer's or cancer or heart disease or stroke or type 2 diabetes, which are the 5 leading causes of early death, I typically am going to read it because I want to be in the know. And I hadn't heard of this before, so I wanted to bring it to you because maybe you didn't see the article. It's by a company called Ready Spec, which, by the way, is a great name for a company that focuses on vision and the eye. So I will try to link it up for you as well. But this was in the Wall Street Journal. It just caught my eye on Apple News as they curate information as well. And what they've done is they've used now a new eye scanner. So what I'm hoping for is if you go to your optometrist, let's say once a year or so, or your eye doctor, whatever you'd like to call it, right? Ophthalmologist, optometrist. One is doing surgery, the other is not, so we don't have to get too deep down that rabbit hole. But what you want is in their office, after let's say the age of 40 or so, wouldn't it be amazing as they were looking at your eyes, they were also doing a scan to look for plaque starting to develop, the same exact plaque that forms with Alzheimer's disease? I think it would be phenomenal. And they're able to look at inflammation and neurodegeneration inside of the eye, the same degeneration that happens in the brain with Alzheimer's. And they're actually looking for that amyloid beta plaque or beta amyloid plaque. And one of the amazing things is that this can be seen 20 years earlier than full-blown Alzheimer's can be diagnosed. And I thought that was pretty fantastic. And at the same time, what they're doing is they're feeding the data from the eye scan into an artificial intelligence program that then clears it up so that doctors can then better read it to a greater degree. And I think that's fantastic. And I truly believe that this is the future of artificial intelligence. It's working hand in hand with doctors, not against them. It's not displacing doctors, but it's making them better. And in the end, who wins? Well, patients, right? And wellness clients. That's really what it's all about. So I really found this to be absolutely impressive. It's called Ready Spec. is the name of the company, and I'm going to get you the link up to it. I don't believe it's quite out yet. However, they're using it right now. I know it's in, I believe, like Mass General Hospital is one of the first places, and it says it delivers results instantaneously and was 80% accurate in detecting signatures in a study of 271 patients. So that's pretty great, right? And if it's 88% accurate this year, think about what it's going to be next year and the year after as it continues to get better. So pretty impressive. And I know, of course, all these costs are going to continue to come down and down and down. So especially if you have a history of Alzheimer's in your family, this would be really nice. And I'm betting within the next, I like to bring you things first, like as early as possible, but I'm betting over the next 18 to 24 months, your eye doctor will have hopefully one of these scans in their office. So pretty fantastic. All right, the next one, also AI related. I shouldn't say AI, sorry, Alzheimer's related. This is out of, let's see, it was published in Neurology by Dr. Christopher Weber, and they are the Director of Global Science Initiatives at the Alzheimer's Association in Chicago. All right, here's what it said. Adults whose cholesterol levels move up and down the most over 5 years were 19% more likely to develop Alzheimer's or related dementia within 12 years. Fluctuating triglyceride levels in particular boosted risk by 23%. Know your health numbers and run those labs every 6 to 12 months to look at your cholesterol levels. So what are they really saying here? Here's what it is. If your cholesterol is typically, let's say, like 220, and your triglycerides sit around 95, well, they're saying that may be better, even though they're slightly elevated, from a functional medicine perspective, by the way. It may be better than being at, let's say, 210 and then dropping down to 160 in cholesterol. Or triglycerides are 110 and then dropping down to 70 and then back up to 110. So what they're saying is there may be repercussions from zigzagging from unhealthy levels to healthy levels, unhealthy levels to unhealthy levels, or potentially staying at like low level above average to then going higher and then back down to low level. So I've seen this in a lot of clients. Many people have like a set point for their cholesterol that the body likes to sit at. Now you can bring it down, and certainly by eating poorly and doing certain things, less exercise, you can have it elevate. But what I recommend for most people is to find the nutrition plan and the exercise plan. Now, it's the whole de-stress protocol that I talked about, the rain barrel effect, but find a spot that works for you. Make sure your total cholesterol to HDL levels are appropriate. So I like a 3-to-1 less ratio right there, 3-to-1 or less ratio. Make sure your triglycerides are below 100. I think that's super important. I like them anywhere between, let's say, 50 and 80, for the most part. I really like those triglycerides down. And then your cholesterol matters, but it doesn't matter as much as people think if the LDL, VLDL, I could go into all the different apolipoprotein little b and all the other types in there, if they're balanced, right? So that's really important. For me, I always take a more conservative approach. So I always like levels for all of the people I work with in our practice within range. So I know some people will say, well, high could be okay. Sure, it could be. I just don't like to take any chances with people. So I don't want really low cholesterol, which is a lack of hormone production, cell membrane health, all of that. But I also don't like high. I like that sweet spot that I want people to stay in. And it seems to be the right range to stay within as well for not preventing or not presenting with and getting Alzheimer's or dementia in the future as well. I'll link up these studies and much more today at StephenCabral.com/2828. Hopefully today's show was helpful. Always feel free to write in, leave a comment on what you'd like to see on these Friday reviews in the future. Before you go, I wanted to share a personal story with you. The real reason I began to get well finally is because I figured out what was wrong with me. And that might seem pretty obvious, but I went from doctor to doctor for over 2 years before discovering at-home functional medicine lab testing. These are the labs that enabled me to finally figure out what was wrong with my hormones, blood sugar, electrolytes, and gut health. And once I knew what was wrong, I could then follow a proven plan in order to rebalance my body from the inside out. This is why I believe so strongly in functional medicine lab testing and why I've made it my mission to share these labs with the world. Now, at equa.life, you can order an at-home lab test or lab bundle for you and your family and be able to complete it within the week. Plus, the EquaLife difference is that you're not left to try to read and figure out these labs on your own. We explain what your lab numbers mean, what they mean in the much bigger picture, and then how to go about rebalancing your body in order to heal. To see our full selection of lab tests or to set up a free lab selection call to find out what labs may be best for you, simply head on over to equa.life/labs. And do remember, we ship these all over the world. To find out more and to set up your free lab selection call, simply head on over to equa.life/labs. That's EQUI.LIFE/labs.